So you're doing Blue Mountain this weekend, so am I, and I've looked at the map. I'm gonna give you some strategies and analysis of the map. Hey guys, Chris Love, the Normal Fat Guy here, and it's Blue Mountain weekend. And even though this isn't a championship race anymore, it's still a signature race for Spartan as far as I'm concerned. And it's not that far from where I live, so I'm gonna have hundreds of friends up there, and it should be a fantastic day. Now, this is my third year doing Blue Mountain, and the last 2 years it has just kicked my butt. Now, the first year I did the sprint, and last year I did the super. I'm doing the super on Saturday, and I can't wait. I don't necessarily call this one of my A races since I do tend to focus on the stadium races, but I look forward to this one because it is such a challenge and so much fun. So with that, let me get into my analysis of the Blue Mountain 2018 Super Course before we even get up there. All right, so yesterday they released the map, and there's been a lot of like, oh my God, questions and stuff like that, obviously, because it's Blue Mountain and everybody freaks out about it. So first off, there's a typo. The legend is wrong. There are obstacles on the sprint, on the super, that are not on the sprint, but the map says that they're on the sprint and not the super. Just flip that around. Whoever did the map editing, put the wrong dots there. Don't let it upset you. Just get over that. Just use your sense. So with that, more obstacles on the super course. So how does this course going to lay out? Now, obviously when you get up there, things will change, but I've got a pretty good idea of what's going on after looking at the map. So the last few years we started over on the left side of the festival area and going up that kind of snow, I think it's the snow tubing hill to start off with, and that's about a 300-yard stretch, about 15, maybe 20 degrees. So, you know, about not quite a quarter of a mile to get up that hill. And it's actually pretty taxing to do that. So this year, they've moved it over 3 slots. There's actually 3 of those hills. And if you remember last year, if you did last year's, we started off on that far left one. And when you came back towards the end, you did the barbed wire crawl up and down the one hill. And then the next hill over was the Bucket Brigade. Yeah, that sounds about right. So anyway, we're going to be going up that third one to start the race. That's where everything's going to start out, and we'll go up that hill. Now, all 3 of them are not friendly to be able to just push yourself right up. So anyway, I think the strategy there is to not blow yourself up running up that hill because it gets worse quickly thereafter. So basically, it's going to be a straight shot this year into the Death March. Now, the last few years, it has to go up the hill and then shoot basically across the entire venue over to the right-hand side and then do the Death March up that one slope. But we're not doing that this year. We're basically just going to start and just go straight up the mountain. Now, the first thing we'll encounter are what they call the overwalls. They're also called the military hurdles. Basically, these are just little waist-high walls, usually like 4 in a row, that you can just hop over easy peasy, no problem. They're really used to just kind of thin the running pack out, and they're also going to be placed just before the steepness kicks in. So try to get to that point and pass those military walls, I guess, as quickly as possible, because soon after that you're not going to be able to run for a while. I would say at least a half mile, if not 3/4 of a mile, to get up to the top. And that slope is going to be very steep, folks. Don't let yourself think it's not. It's going to be steep, and it is roughly a mile up to the top of that mountain. And when you get up to the top of the mountain, you're greeted with what else but the signature sandbag carry. Now the questions are, will it still be a double sandbag carry or a single sandbag carry? Now in the past, the elites and most of the competitive waves have had to do double sandbag carry. I was so slow last year in the competitive wave that I only had to do 1. Yay! But it was still hard. I mean, dadgummit, you're going down to double black diamond, turn right around and come back up. And it's probably a good 200 yards down and 200 yards up, if not more, maybe closer to 300. This, folks, is not easy. So if this is your first Spartan race, you're getting baptism by fire, let me tell you. That sandbag carry is no joke. Now, I personally don't foresee the double sandbag carry. And I think what's going on is the sandbags that Spartan is using this year are much heavier per se than the pancakes. Definitely what I'm feeling in the stadium races and even at Tuxedo this past year, the sandbags are a little bit heavier. Now, they could adjust them however they want to. Carrying two is logistically very difficult to do, and it adds that extra challenge to it. But again, this is not a U.S. Championship Series race, so I'm leaning towards single sandbag carry, but they may do double just because that's the way it's been at Blue Mountain, and it's one of the things they're known for. I give it basically 60% chance of being a single sandbag carry. How's that? We'll call it that. But just be prepared for carnage. It doesn't matter if it's single or double, it's going to be difficult. Okay, now after that, you got a 7-foot wall. This is the only like straight up wall on the course. There's no 6-foot or 8-foot wall. So there's just the one 7-foot wall, and I'm starting to see that be a consistent trend. So anyway, just a quick wall right after you get done with the sandbags, and then it's basically just, wait a minute, at this point, the super and the sprint course split. So sprint people, I'll come back to you in a minute. Now, if you're in the super like me, you're going to be going down that descent. And this is where I'd usually just blow up because I'm not a very good mountain runner. Well, yeah, I suck at mountain running. But going down these mountains through the woods on the muddy rocks is my Achilles heel. It takes me longer to go down the mountains than it takes to go up the mountains. Let's put that in perspective. So you're going to basically go straight back down to the bottom, back down to the festival area where you're going to be greeted with twisters. So within the first 4 obstacles, you've encountered 2 of the harder obstacles you're going to encounter on this entire course. Wow, what a way to start. Okay, so then you're basically going to get finished with twister, do your burpees half the time, half of you are going to do your burpees, and then you're going to start going right back up the mountain again. At this point, you're going to do the plate drag, not a really hard, difficult obstacle, but it does take a little time. Then you're going to do Stairway to Sparta, very simple, hop up, pull yourself up, then start climbing up the little ladder and back down. Then you're going to get up to the top, and you're going to be greeted with the Z-walls over there in that far right corner of the map. And of course, Z-walls are Z-walls, but just beware if your feet are muddy or anything, might be slippery. Should be great weather up there. It's looking pretty good. Then you're going to go to that bender thing, which is basically vertical monkey bar, curvy stuff. It's, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. And that's the last super only obstacle you'll have to do. At this point, you're going to be up the top of the mountain. You're going to be going across that top level up there. Now, again, here's a little word of warning about this course. It looks just straight across, but it is straight, but there is an incline at this point, and it's not necessarily an easy incline. It's pretty sharp, but it's just flat as far as the terrain, but it does go up at an angle, and that can tax you as well. And from there, you're going to be going into the bender. At the base of that kind of incline is the spear throw. Okay, and this is where the sprint course comes back into play. So if you're on the sprint course, and this is your first race, you're gonna get the dose, man. You're gonna hit that death march into that brutal sandbag carry, the wall, and then you're gonna hit the spear throw. And to top it all off, the next obstacle is the multi-rig. All right, so if you're not really good with grip strength and stuff like that, and this is your first Spartan, man, you may be in for some good quick burpees right there at the very top of that mountain as you're taxiing. You may be going, why did I do this? It gets better, guys. Okay, so you're gonna do the multi-rig, then you're gonna go up that hill. And for the super course, we're gonna go off from the sprint a little bit more just to add some extra distance to it. We're gonna go running out through the woods. Enjoy yourself out there in the woods. Should be a good challenge. You're not necessarily gonna be going down or up too much, so for me, that's not gonna be horrible. And then you're going to hit the hurdles about halfway back down the mountain as you descend back down the mountain. Again, hurdles, just basically right about here. You just have to hop up, get yourself over. Hopefully you don't flop on the ground like I do half the time, and go down. And you're gonna come down into the pond there where we have the swim, what they call the lake crossing or whatever it is, the pond, whatever number. Oh, but basically it's just a light swim. The water's probably gonna be up to here on me, or up to here, depends on how far out you go. You do have to take a flotation device, and you do have to dunk under the buoys that are out there. I think there's like 4 sets of buoys. You can swim for the most part if you want to, but you could also just walk across, which is usually what I do. If we're lucky, the water's kind of cool and it'll help revitalize you. If it's warm, yeah, it sucks. Anyway, just to stay with the water theme, this is actually interesting. They're using the same I think they're using the same ditches that they dug out last year, because this is where the rolling mud was last year, but we came down the other direction. So we're coming out of the lake, and we're basically going into the lake and doing a loop this time. We usually go straight across. This time we're going to do a loop, come back, and then hit the rolling mud, which we're going to go in the opposite direction we were last year, it looks like. And then you're going to go through the woods a little bit, and word of advice right here, you're going to get out of the rolling mud, and your shoes are going to be wet and muddy, because when you get out of the rolling mud or something like that, there's usually a good 20 to 40 yards of just icky, crappy mud that you got to slog through before you actually get back to real course again, as everybody's kind of, the water's dripping off of them and everything. Your shoes are probably going to have some extra mud on them. Before you get to the Olympus, try to get that mud off your shoes. Maybe run through a little side over where there's foliage and stuff like that. They can maybe clean your shoes off for you. That way, when you get to the Olympus, you can still use your feet. Otherwise, you may have too much mud on there, and also be aware other people may not have knocked the mud off, and those Olympus things may be crap by the time you get to them. So it could be a real upper body challenge, which is going to tax your grip, and this is important, okay? Because right after that, you got the vertical cargo net, which won't be that much of a challenge, but here's the thing. You got ape hanger coming up right next. I mean, it's just bam, right into ape hanger. There should be hay bales at the bottom of that vertical cargo net. Make sure that you wipe your hands off and get those kind of mud-free. And I would do the same thing for your feet, because you got to climb the rope for the ape hanger. If you're not familiar with ape hanger, basically it's a combination of monkey bars, rope climb, and the monkey bars aren't monkey bars. It's actually a rope ladder, so it wobbles a lot. And it is 21 rungs. I counted them. I went back and watched multiple videos. It's 21 rungs. But because it's a rope ladder, it goes down and apexes back up to a middle truss, and then arcs around again so you can ring that bell. You are over water on that one. You will get wet one way or another on the ape hanger. There's no way around it. You are going to be wet up there. Those first few rungs on the ape hanger are going to be slippery. Hold on for dear life on those. Right now, my potential strategy is to try to go sideways on this one for a little while and see what happens, because going forward last year did not work for me. That's my personal thing. I might try. I've been practicing a little bit at the gym, and I think I might be able to pull that off. All right. Okay, so you made it. You didn't make it through ape hanger, or maybe you did. Most of you won't. I haven't made it yet. All right, and then you're going to go into the Yokohama tire flip. I'll leave that with Steve Hammond. That's where the guy's got to flip a 400-pound tire over and then back, and women, you got to do a 200-pound over and back as well. The trick is getting your fingers underneath the tire. If you can't get it up in a short amount of time, honestly, go do the burpees, because there's no sense in spending another 4 or 5 minutes and then having to do the burpees anyway. Just fail fast on this one if you have to. Okay, I just gave up on it last year because there was no way to get my fingers underneath it to get leverage. And I do practice tire flipping a lot, and I gotta tell you, it was hard. From there on out, it should be fairly easy, relatively. Right after that, it's a rope climb. Should be using your grip too much on this one, so you should be okay. Should be all feet. Then you got to crawl the barbed wire. Last year's barbed wire was down, slip wall, and back up. This year, it looks like it's just going to be going up the hill. That's going to probably take most of the rolling ability out of this one. Just be careful you don't catch cramps in your legs as you're pushing off, as you're doing that kind of military army crawl kind of thing. Word of advice: stay to the edges where the barbed wire is a little higher, or in the middle where the pole is holding it up in the middle. That's where you're going to get the most clearance. Just a little word of advice. They'll probably put some hay bales out there to make you have to zigzag around too. Just be aware of that. Then you're going to go to the next little hill over, and that's going to be the bucket carry. Now, last year's bucket carry seemed like it was about 1,000,000 miles long. It was down and then back up. And like I said, that's about a 300-yard area right there. So it was a good, almost half mile of bucket carry last year, and it took forever for me to go through that. And it was so taxing because it was at the end of the race. I think the next day at the sprint, they shortened the actual loop on that one. I don't know, but it came from the very top all the way back, all the way down to the bottom and back up. I got a feeling they're probably going to shorten it up a little bit this year from last year if you did the super. So just be aware of that. It's not going to be that easy. The buckets are covered this year. My strategy is to flip them over and carry them from this way, because it's just easier to grip the top than it is to grip the bottom. And then when you get done with the bucket carry and your forearms are taxed, you got to grab that rope and pull the bag up for the Herc hoist. And then the easy peasy A-frame cargo net, just go up and over and watch those people taking off in the waves after you. And to kind of get it all finished up, you race down that last hill and you hit the inverted wall and flip yourself over, and then you can see that fire and you just sprint to the end and do some sort of crazy pose at the end so that you can celebrate your victory of completing that Spartan race. So I hope this is helpful for you, my little pre-race analysis of the 2018 Blue Mountain Supercourse, and hopefully it'll help you mentally get ready. I know the next day or so I'm going to have to kind of put it away. I will be at the open house tomorrow night. Can't wait to go up there and kind of see it in person, and I'll try to share some videos from up there tomorrow. I don't know what to expect. I've never made it to a Spartan open house, so we'll see what happens there. Now, if you get confused looking at the maps or trying anything about Spartan racing or obstacle course racing, I've got a great resource for you. It's the Normal Guy's Guide to Obstacle Course Racing, and it's available for $9.99. And if you go to SpartanObstacles.com, you can get your copy today. And that way you can at least get a little prepared for Blue Mountain and the next race. And I've got some extra resources available there for you outside of just content. And if you got any questions or comments, leave those in the description below, and I will try to respond as I can.